So this is the full review of the DT2 Pro. If you missed out on my first impressions video, have a look at that. But in this video, we're going to be doing a hill test, brake test, see what the suspension's like, have a closer look at it. By the way, in this video, I'm going to be going through the very important P settings, and basically that means you can customize the scooter to wherever way you want. We're going to also have a look at the charger that this comes with, because there has been a few questions on that also. So let's get to it. So to be honest, with a 52 volt 23 amp hour battery with 1100 watt motors in the front and in the rear, I would expect the speed of this to be quite good. So let's take a closer look at that now, and then we'll talk about it further. Let's do a top speed test. Dual motor, race mode. This road is pretty smooth. Battery is at 54 volts, so we're minus 4 volts already. 59. Pretty stable, no wobbling whatsoever. Bit of wind. Whoa, okay. So we reached 60 kilometers an hour. And that is on 80% battery. So I'm pretty happy with that. So as you can see there, the top speed I got on that first one was actually 60 kilometers per hour. Now I do a second one later on, and I did manage to get 63, 64 kilometers an hour with no wind actually coming towards me. So to be honest, it basically reaches more or less the top speed that they are advertising, which is 42 miles per hour or 67 kilometers per hour. So just to give you an idea of the kind of torque this has. By the way, we are now at 52.8 volts, so we are dropping the voltage. Whoa, I mean, it's ridiculous how much power electric scooters have nowadays. You would not want any more than this. I mean, just take a look at this. Whoa, ho, easily. I mean, got up to 60 kilometers an hour in a matter of seconds. Let me do that again. Whoa, need to be careful. Okay, so we're at 8 kilometers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 60 kilometers an hour, 62, 63. 63 kilometers an hour in a few seconds. Whoa, whoa. Oh, that is ridiculous power. And I have to be honest, I do love speed, but I find myself most comfortable going 50 kilometers an hour on a majority of electric scooters. So I think going 60 plus is way more than enough than what you would ever need. So it's very acceptable for a scooter like this. Okay, we'll talk about the brake performance. You have, my favorite of all, you have the Zoom hydraulic brakes, and they do a phenomenal job. Brakes. Whoa, brakes are, to be honest, the brakes are phenomenal. There would be no issue really with braking on a model like this. Now we will actually talk about some of the questions that were posted on the very first video in a few minutes, but to cut long story short, it advertises that the DT2 Pro has basically ABS, EABS. In other words, that basically means it has electronic braking. Now again, you can't customize that in the P settings, so don't worry about that. It does an okay job. I personally have them on the lowest setting possible, but overall, very pleased with the braking performance of the DT2 Pro, especially if you're going those crazy high speeds, or if you want to take this off-road, which it is more than capable from those dual motors. Now, of course, let's talk about hill climbing. Just like what I mentioned, dual motors are phenomenal for hill climbing. So let's have a look at that test. I did do it in basically 2 different areas. Let's have a look and I'll talk about it a bit more. Okay, so there's a hill in front of me here that's actually quite steep. And it might not look steep on camera, but it is quite steep. So to really test the scooter, I'm just gonna put it into eco single and see if we can get up this hill. To be honest, don't really have much of a concern, so let's go. actually no problem at all. We are on eco as well. We're going 15 kilometers an hour. Yeah, so there you go. I think hill climbing ability, to be honest, with something that has 1100 watt motors each, has no issue at all. I'm going to see if I can find another steep hill, but you know, to be honest, it's an excellent scooter for hilly areas. Dual motor scooters are always best for hilly areas, without a doubt. So you know, you will definitely have a blast on something like this going up hills, coming home from work. You don't want to be struggling going up or down a hill. So there is another hill actually up here. Let me just have a look. Okay. Use my indicators. Okay, so here's another hill in front of me. Let me just stay on this gear. Oh, this hill is a lot steeper than the other one. Come on, come on. 15 kilometers an hour. 14. It's staying at 14. Dropped a bit to 13. So yeah, I mean, that's actually quite a good test. So as you can see, hill climbing, not a problem at all for this high powered electric scooter. So if you live in hilly areas and if you want something, and if you're on a tight budget, I'll talk about the value later on in the video, but if you're on a tight budget, this is definitely the scooter to choose in my opinion. Okay, so it's not hydraulic suspension, it's standard shock suspension you get on a majority of electric scooters. Yes, you could upgrade it to hydraulic suspension if you want, but I have to say it is adjusted perfectly and it is excellent over bumps. I went really hard over some bumps. I took it on a little bit of an off-road trail. There's not a lot of off-road trails around my area, but it's done a really good job. Woohoo! And to be honest, you cannot complain at all about the suspension on something like this. I mean, if you wanted, you can be harsh with the scooter and knowing, you know, that it's gonna hang on for a long time without any issues. This road is a little bit bumpy in areas, but I mean, scooter is just super soft, super spongy. I mean, no complaints at all about the quality of that, and that's very nice to see. It really is. To bottom out the suspension is, to be honest, it would be a little bit tricky unless you weigh like 150 kilos plus. With all my camera equipment, I'm around 85 kilograms in weight, so you know, there's no question really about bottoming out the suspension. It's very soft. It's adjusted really well out of the box, and as you can see, very hard to actually bottom out. So yeah, suspension is definitely one of the top selling points of this scooter. It's one of the best adjusted ones I've ever had on some scooters. So again, no complaints there. Okay, so when it comes to some of the safety features, this has lighting all around. It has lighting down the stem, it has lighting underneath, it also has indicators, and overall safety is not really an issue on this scooter. The stem is rock solid, the adjusting point is rock solid, and it has kind of everything you need, and it has of course that phenomenal braking. But let me talk about something that I've never really seen on electric scooters at this price point. So this scooter has 10-inch, get this, tubeless tires that have a really good tread on them. On most electric scooters, you actually have tubed tires, pneumatic. So of course, tubeless is better because you can actually basically fix them a lot quicker and on the fly. So if you get caught coming home from work, it will be very easy to do and to fix to get you home. Like what I said, there is the stem there, which is very nice design, pretty much rock solid to be honest, nice and chunky around this area, very chunky part here as well. Deck nice and wide, comfort is very good. Of course you have the lights here, I'll show you on screen right now, and then you have of course lighting that comes down the stem at night time. I'm going to talk about this part in a second. It looks like a light, but it actually has something else. Of course, these are Zoom hydraulic brakes, and on a lot of electric scooters, sometimes the handlebars are quite narrow, but on this, they are the perfect with giving you stability at those higher speeds. So no concerns at all, again, with the safety aspect. By the way, this is the finger throttle. Very nice, simplistic design. Easy to use, no issues whatsoever, and very comfortable. Okay, so let's actually talk about the charger. You get a 2 amp hour charger with this, and it has these basically new type of connectors, which are seen to be on a lot of electric scooters. I actually forget the name of these type of connectors, but they are much better designed compared to the older style and built very, very well. It will take you around 8 hours to charge this. But of course, if you don't have 8 hours to spare, you could buy another original charger here. And then of course you have 2 charging ports with this. And this is actually a very nice design. You'll actually see here that this connector simply pops in very easy, and it has like a nice clicky kind of design, and it doesn't come out. So that's actually very nice. And then to take it off, you simply twist it here, and then it comes out very nice. IP54 rated electric scooter, okay in light rain. Of course, don't take it in heavy rain. So very good with the charging. Of course, not a fast charger, but you could just get another one, double up on the speed. Keep in mind, it is a 23 amp hour battery, which is 52 volt system. But overall, very nice. By the way, I just do want to mention that when you are riding the scooter, it is very, very quiet, very sturdy, no rattling from the mud guards, no banging, nothing at all. The only thing that kind of sometimes when you go a bit rough, this part kind of hits off here. But you could put, you know, something there to stop that from making that noise. That's the only noise that actually happens on this electric scooter. By the way, you do have a really nice 4.5 inch display here. That'll give you a closer look now when I go through the P settings. You have your indicators here, left, right, dual motor, single motor button. Okay, so when it comes to security, this actually comes with 2 of these smaller NFC keys and a bigger lanyard type of key. So you basically have 3 keys. Now you have a few options. If you are afraid of losing these keys that many people have basically worried about, you can actually set a password. The default password on this is actually 4 zeros, or you can just use your keys wherever you want to do. So it is customizable in that way, wherever you feel most comfortable doing. Again, excellent design, excellent security, because on some scooters, you basically have an NFC point that you tap on the handlebars, but these can be easily, I guess you could say, hot wired to turn on your scooter. But because it is built into the display, you won't have an issue. Okay, but let's talk about something very important, the P settings on the DT2 Pro. Everything is in the manual, but I'm going to read them out right now and tell you what you can change and what you cannot change. And then of course I'm going to answer some of the questions or comments that were put on the very first video. But let's go through the P settings first. So to simply get into the P settings, you turn on the scooter and then you hold down the plus and minus keys. That will bring you into the, basically they're called parameter settings. Let's go through. So the P2 setting is basically the switch between kilometers and miles. The P4 setting is to have the sleep timer. It is set to 5 minutes by default. So after 5 minutes, it simply just turns off. So it's entirely up to you what you want to do. Now the P8 setting is actually quite important. So this scooter did come fully unlocked, giving you that top speed. So the P8 setting, if you set that to 100, it means you will get the maximum speed possible. And if you of course lower that speed, you will get that type of speed. So if you have it at like 70 or 80, it basically changes it to basically increments of kind of percentages. So you could have a level 50 and that will give you 50% of the maximum speed output. So you can play around to see what you like. Maybe your country is restricted in that way, but again, you have that customizability there. Something that you don't have on a lot of electric scooters. Now the P9 is actually a setting that I do need to change on this scooter. It is on kickstart at the moment, and to kickstart the scooter you have to give it a kick. You get up to around 4 or 5 kilometers, then you can press the accelerator to move on. So you can simply just change that setting to have it at 0 start, something that I will do because I find that better. But of course always be careful using 0 start. The P11 setting is basically to set the force of the electronic braking. Now it is at default at the moment. You can set this to level 1 or 5. 1 means the weakest, which is what I prefer, or you can have it on 5, which is the most harshest. So it depends again on your comfort level. Some people don't like it too strong, because if you have it on too strong, the minute you tap your brake, the scooter can really come to a very fast stop. So I don't like that. I prefer to have it on the weakest setting, which will be level 1. Now another P setting that's actually quite cool on this is actually the P12 setting. P12 setting is basically the acceleration strength. So if you're racing your friends one day on a racetrack, if you have that at the highest setting possible, you will immediately come off the line, and of course you more than likely, depending on your weight, you could wheel spin the scooter if you have it on dual motor mode. So you can play around with that setting and see what you like. P13 is cruise control. Generally I don't use cruise control, but again you can turn that on and off if you want. So P18 is a setting to bind or unbind a NFC card. You can actually buy extra NFC cards and add that to the scooter if you want. By the way, there is one security feature I haven't mentioned yet, so I'm going to mention that now. But again, you get 3 NFC cards with the scooter, so I can't see why you would really want to use that setting. P19 is to adjust the brightness of the lights all around the scooter and the lights on the display if you want it really bright, or if you just want it at the dimmest level possible. So again, you can play around with that. And of course, P23 is to actually change the password. But let me show you something very nice. So if you actually take a look here, this is basically a hidden AirTag compartment. You basically unscrew this and you pop your AirTag in that goes in this direction. So I have AirTags pretty much on all of my keys. Let me show you now. I have it on these keys, for example, and very narrow. They just simply slide in here. They are IP67 rated. Never had an issue with them at all. Excellent tracking device. You can even take the speaker out of them. So if somebody happened to steal your scooter and got past the passwords on the NFCs, if you have a tracker on here, of course you need an iPhone for this, but if you have a tracker on here, basically you'll be able to track where your scooter is. A very nice feature. I haven't seen this really integrated on many scooters, but it is starting to become more common, so that is an excellent feature. So I'm going to answer a few questions that were posted on the very first video. Okay, so some of the questions was from a guy by the name of Psychology GMT. He said, how is the suspension? Is it smooth or tough? Do you feel bumps on the road? Like I mentioned already, the suspension is really excellent on this electric scooter. No complaints there with that at all. Personally, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't go through the hassle of putting a hydraulic suspension on a scooter like this. And overall, very happy with it. So a guy by the name of Turtle Power said, how easy are the tire changes? I just saw a video on a tire change of the L2 Max, and the whole scooter needs to be gutted just to pull the motors out. You even need to pull pins out of the connectors. Way too much work. I haven't really had a closer look at this till now, so let me turn the camera around and then we'll have a look. Okay, so just to take a look at the tires, because they are tubeless, you'll need to keep that in mind. It doesn't look like a split rim design to me. It doesn't look like there's a ring around that. So it will be a bit of a pain. You don't have quick release connectors either here. Sometimes you have quick release connectors, but basically all you do is you take off your nuts here. Make sure you know exactly where your washers go on the scooter on both sides. Always good to take a picture. Basically loosen these, take off the bracket, and then of course you push these. Basically these are used to secure the cable. Push them to one side, loosen this one here, then it will come off. Don't have a lot of slack in the cable, but you will basically need tire levers to change this. So you will get there in the end. Not much of a big deal, but tubeless repair kits are definitely the way to go, and they will get you out of a rough spot. I do prefer tubeless tires 100%, but these are quite good quality tires. The main thing that causes flats is of course low tire pressure, so make sure you have it pumped to 45 psi, give or take maybe a small bit. A person called Jay said, where's the seat option? Can't find it anywhere. I think he was getting confused with another model. There is no seat option on the Ausom DT2 Pro. Quick update, a seat has now become available for some Ausom scooters, including the DT2 Pro, and will start shipping in June. Another person, his name is Not Crusader, asked basically would it be suitable for himself. He is 6 foot, just over 6 foot in height. It states on the website this is suitable up to 6 foot 1 inches, so I think you would just about get away with that from a comfort level. A person called Kick Off Expert said, can you do a comparison on the G2 Master and this scooter? Yes, I will basically eventually get around to doing that. I have so many scooters and e-bikes to review at the moment, but in a nutshell I would choose this hands down. I'll talk about the value in a second. The reason I choose this hands down is better build quality. You have a hidden air tag compartment. The charger is much better quality. Suspension is better. Big deck space. You have the light in there. You have better security features. Better display. You have, of course, those tubeless tires. Better zoom hydraulic brakes. It really destroys the Coupe Kirin G2 Master, in my opinion. Another person was asking about the noise of the brakes in the very first video. That is perfectly normal for hydraulic brakes, so no issues there. It's just kind of like a sound of fluid basically, but that is because they are hydraulic, so it's perfectly normal. I've had countless scooters with hydraulic brakes and e-bikes, and they all make that noise, so no issues there. And of course, another person did mention that the brakes are reversed. Yes, they are reversed. The right lever controls the back brake and the left lever controls the front brake. I don't like that setup. I prefer it the opposite way around, of course, but I've tried that many scooters and e-bikes at this stage that I'm kind of used to it, to be honest. So again, no issues there. I'm not going to cry about it. What do I think now of the DT2 Pro? This retails for just over €1,000, and for everything you're getting, it's worth every single penny. By the way, there is a discount code linked below. If you are in the US, it'll cost you around, I think it's $1,100 or $1,200. Again, you can use that discount code there. It is limited time available. I can only get that discount for the viewers. So I am trying my best to, of course, save you money. But overall, if you're looking for a dual motor scooter that looks as cool as this one, and if you're on a budget and if you want higher speed, great performance, great range. By the way, the range on this is 71 miles, which is just over 100 kilometers. Realistically, if you're going to higher top speed, you're probably going to get 40 or 50 kilometer range, which is normal because you're going crazy speeds. If you go lesser speeds, you will save more battery, and if you use regen braking, you will put more power back into the battery. So all these factors really basically affect the range of the electric scooter. So there is no definite answer on range, but I always find going to higher top speed, wherever it states on the website, cut that in half. So 40, 50 kilometer max distance, going higher top speed on this, no complaints at all. So if you have enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next video.